Devaya Janmadya Sayatam Vayaditarata Chati Swavigyasvara
Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye Muyatiyat Sudayaha
Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye Mujantija Suraya Tejubarimida Jita Vinimayo Jatra Trisarvamisya Damnasvena Sada Nirastakuhakam Satyang Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva,
O all-pervading personality of God,
O all-pervading personality of Godhead,
I offer my respectful obeisance unto you.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto you.
I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth,
I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth
and the primeval cause of all causes.
and the primeval cause of all causes,
Creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes.
of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations.
He is directly and indirectly conscious of all
And he
manifestations.
is independent because there's no other cause beyond him.
And he is independent because there's no other cause beyond him.
It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahmaji,
It's the only who first imparted Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji.
the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion.
By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into
As one is bewildered by the illusory representations
as one is bewildered by the illusory
of
representation
water seen on fire or land seen on water.
of water seen the fire, of land seen the water.
Only because of him do the material universes,
Only because of him do the material universes,
temporarily manifested by reaction to the three modes of nature,
temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature,
appear factual, although they are unreal.
appear factual, although they are unreal.
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna,
I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna,
who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode,
who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode,
which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world.
which is forever free from the illusory representation of material
I
world.
meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Dharma projita kaitravotra
Dharma Prajita Kaitavutra
paramo nirmatsaranam satam
Paramo Nirmasaranam
vedyam vastavam atravastu
Vedyam Vastavam Astravastu
shivanam tapatrayon mulanam
Shivadam Tapu Trimuranam
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni
Kim va purir Ishwaraha
Imva Paririshvara
Sadyo Hridi Avarudyatetra
Sadyarudya Varudyatitra
Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshana.
Kritivhi Shishu Shubhista Kyanat,
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated.
completely rejecting all religious activities for material motivated.
This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth,
This Bhagavad Puran propounds the high truth,
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart.
which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in their heart.
The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all.
The high truth, the reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare
Such
of all.
truth uproots the threefold miseries.
Such truth have rooted the threefold miseries.
This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity,
This beautiful Bhagavatam compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva's maturity
is sufficient in itself for God realization.
is sufficient itself for God realization.
What is the need of any other scripture?
What is the need of the other scripture?
As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
As soon as one attentively, submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam,
by this culture of knowledge,
by this culture of
the
knowledge,
Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
the Supreme Lord is established within his heart.
Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam,
Nigama kalpataror garitam phalam,
sukhamukad amrita dravya samyatam,
sukamukadamrita dravisangitam,
pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam,
Pibata Bhagavatam rasam,
muhur aho raska bhuvi bhavakaha.
Muhura hora sika bhuvivavu.
O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam,
O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam,
the mature fruit of the desired true Vedic literatures.
the mature fruit of the desired tree of the Vedic literature.
It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami.
It emanated from the lips of Shishukadev Goswami.
Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful.
Therefore, this food has become even more tasteful.
Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all,
Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for
including liberated souls,
all, including liberated souls.
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna,
Shimbatam Swakata Krishna,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Punya Shravana Kirtana,
Hridyantaksto hi abhadrani,
Vidyantastu Hya Bhadrani,
Vidunati Suhitsatam.
Vidunoti Surisata.
To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures,
To hear about Krishna from Vedic
or
literature,
to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from it directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
is itself righteous activity.
is self-righteous activity.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
And for one who hears about Krishna,
Lord Krishna is dwelling in everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna is dwelling within everyone's
acts
heart,
as the best wishing friend,
acts as the best wishing friend,
and purifies the devotee who constantly engaged in hearing of him.
and purifies the body who constantly engages in hearing of him.
Nastapresu bhadresu
Nasta Praesha Bhadrishu
nityam bhagavata sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Seva
bhagavati utamasloke
Bhagavati Uttamasloke
bhaktir bhavati naistaki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Nastiki.
In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge
In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendence
as he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
as he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam
and from the devotees.
and from the devotees.
He becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
He becomes fixed in devotional service of the Lord.
Tadarajastumo bhava
Tadarajastamo bhavo
kamalobhadayaschaye
Kamalobhadaya
chetetar navidam
Chetaitaranavidam
stitvam sadve prasidati.
Sitam Salve Prasidati.
By development of devotional service,
By development of devotional service,
one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance.
one becomes freed from the modes of passion of
And thus, material lust and avarice are diminished.
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
Evam prasana manaso
Evam prasana manaso
bhagavad bhakti yogataha
Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata
bhagavad tattva vijnanam
Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana
mukta sangasya jayate.
Mukta Sangha Sanjayate.
When these impurities are wiped away,
When all these impurities are wiped
the
away,
candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness,
the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness,
becomes enlivened by devotional service,
becomes enlivened by devotional service,
and understands the science of God perfectly.
and understands the science of God perfectly.
Vidyate hridaya grantis,
Vidyate Hridaya Grantis,
chidyante sarvasamsaya,
Chidyante Savasamsaya,
siyante jasya karmani,
Siyante Sachakarmani,
justa evat manishware.
Dustava Manishwari.
Thus, bhakti yoga severs the hard knot of material affection
Thus the Bhakti Yoga serves the heart, not the material affection,
and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram,
and enables to come at once to the stage of assumption,
understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
understanding Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead.
understanding the Supreme Absolute True Personality of God.
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness
Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotees in Krishna consciousness
can one understand the science of God perfectly.
can one understand the science of God perfectly.
Srimad Bhagvatam, chapter 19, verse number 3. Advaya Rajyam Balam Rita Kosham Prakopita Brahma Kula Nalome
Prakopita Brahma Kula Nalome
Dahatta Babhadrasya Punarname Bhut
Dahatva Bhadrasa Punana Mebhut
Prapiyasi Didvija Deva Gobhyaha.
Papiyasi Dirvija Deva Gopya.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. I am uncivilized and sinful due to my neglect of Brahminical culture, God consciousness, and cow protection. Therefore, I wish that my kingdom, strength, and riches burn up immediately by the fire of the Brahmana's wrath, so that in the future I may not be guided by such inauspicious attitudes. So this is Maharaj Parikshit speaking. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Progressive human civilization is based on Brahminical culture, God consciousness, and protection of cows. It doesn't say protection of cars or buses or trains or airplanes or rockets. It says protection of cows. All economic development of the state by trade, commerce, agriculture, and industries must be fully utilized in relation to the above principles. Otherwise, all so-called economic development becomes a source of degradation. Cow protection means feeding the Brahminical culture, which leads towards God consciousness, and thus perfection of human civilization is achieved. The age of Kali aims at killing the higher principles of life, although Maharaj Pariksit strongly resisted the domination of the personality Kali within the world. The influence of the age of Kali came at an opportune moment, and even a strong king like Maharaj Pariksit was induced to disregard the Brahminical culture due to a slight provocation of hunger and thirst. Maharaj Pariksit lamented the accidental incident, and he desired that all his kingdom, strength, accumulation of wealth, would be burned up for not being engaged in Brahminical culture. Where wealth and strength are not engaged in the advancement of Brahminical culture, God consciousness, and cow protection, the state and home are surely doomed by providence. Whenever it says providence, and this is a big word, it's often used, and most people don't understand what it means. It means the will of God. That's what it means. So, in fact, look up in the dictionary, providence, Providence. Let's make sure this is what it means. If we want peace and prosperity in the world, we should take lessons from this verse. Every state, every home must endeavor to advance the cause of Brahminical culture for self-purification, God consciousness for self-realization, and cow protection for getting sufficient milk, the best food to continue a perfect civilization. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. What's the meaning of providence? What?
Fate, destiny, nemesis, Christmas, God's will, divine intervention. They're given multiple.
Yeah, kismet, Arabic word.
Yeah, but they have given God's will.
Yeah, it's God's will, yeah. Yeah, faith in God or in God's will. Okay. So, yesterday a man called me up. His name is, his last name is Patel. He's a Gujarati. And he said that his father is a journalist, and his father informed his son, his father who lives in India, informs his son, who just got a job in Microsoft, that there's some organization called Northwest Share in Redmond, Washington. And he should call them immediately because they're doing things that are extremely interesting to his father. So his son called me up yesterday and said, my father is a journalist and he lives in India, but he read about your organization, Northwest Share, and he's very, very interested, and I would like to come and visit your farm and see what you're doing. Hey, news is getting around the world, right? What are we doing? Well, I explained to him things that we're doing. So I'm really interested in this. I want to come and visit your farm. My father, I think, wants to write something about your organization and let everybody know about it. You know. So what are we doing? Cow protection. And we're promoting principles of Sanatana Dharma. Cow protection, Brahminical culture, and belief in God. So it says, Brahminical culture is for self-purification, God consciousness for self-realization, and cow protection for getting sufficient milk and the best food to continue a perfect civilization. Now we can understand how much this present civilization is screwed up It's going in the opposite direction. And therefore, even though there's so much economic development, some little virus disrupts the whole thing and puts thousands and thousands of people out of jobs and knocks out hundreds and thousands of businesses. Of course, some businesses do better, but they will also get affected as time goes on. There are viruses, there are atomic bombs, there's communism. By the way, Prabhupada predicts that communism will defeat capitalism. Why? Because capitalism feeds greed. And greed means some people become rich and a lot of people become poor. And we're seeing that. The stock market is higher than it's ever been. And people are rioting in Seattle and Portland, burning buildings down, and smashing windows of businesses. So the more economic development through capitalism leads to more people out of jobs. And some people very rich, but only a few. That 1% of the population are making over 70% of the money or profit in this country. So, therefore, people riot. Even, and it doesn't matter who the president is. Some people are saying, "Oh, if Biden becomes president, then everything will be all right." No, just 2 days ago they rioted again in Portland and in Seattle. Why? Because there are too many people that are not satisfied. They don't have a piece of the pie, as they say. They're just getting some crumbs from the crust, but not any delicious pieces like Bezos and other people like that. So, because what are they doing here? They're destroying belief in God, and people are not self-purifying. They're getting self-contaminated. And one example of that contamination is look at the movies that they make today. Is there any movie today without violence in it? Is there any movie today without sex in it? Is there any movie today in which the bad guys look more real than the good guys? Even though many times the good guys win in the end, but the bad guys look more real. So we see, and then there's, of course, no Brahminical culture or God consciousness. There's no God consciousness for self-realization. Therefore, there's no real knowledge. What's being taught in the schools is all ignorance. How to become a Sudra. Always begging for a job, always being in anxiety. Am I going to lose my job? And what's happening to my money? The stock market's going up. Oh, that's good. Oh, now it's coming down. That's bad. So there's up, down, up, down, up, down consciousness. One day it's good, next day it's bad. It's all anxiety. And then lastly, instead of drinking milk, they're eating the flesh of the cow. So everything is backwards today in the society. And because of that, people are suffering. And they suffer too much, they riot. And they burn. And they kill. And that's why Prabhupada says that communism will eventually defeat capitalism. Therefore, we have to teach people what is real communism. Real communism is Krishna consciousness. Everything belongs to Krishna. And everybody should live a simple life of cultivating Krishna consciousness. No one should work real hard just to have food on the table. But everyone should use all their talents to please Guru and Krishna. So that means you wouldn't have to change anything. You just change the goal of everything. So the goal of everything now is personal wealth and sense gratification. But if the goal becomes to please Krishna and follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness and regularly hear Srimad Bhagvatam and Bhagavad Gita spoken by saintly persons, chant Hare Krishna, and only eat prasadam, don't eat anything else, then the whole thing changes. You can still be a businessman, you can still be a housewife, or you can still be a farmer or an accountant. But now the goal changed. The goal is not personal wealth. The goal is not sense gratification. The goal is pleasing Krishna. That's all that that's the only thing that would change. The goal would have to change. See? So Prabhupada says, if we want peace and prosperity in the world, we should take lessons from this verse. Every state and every home must endeavor to advance the cause of Brahminical culture for self-purification, God consciousness for self-realization, and cow protection for getting sufficient milk and the best food to continue a perfect civilization. Now, this is something we can all do. Some people say, no, it's impossible, we can't do it. We've got used to this way of life, and it's, it's convenient. The Safeway is just down the street, and Costco is not far away, and Walmart is there too, and I got everything I need. I have my 401k, and I got the house, and I got the car, and I got insurance, and I got life insurance, and car insurance, and insurance for my cell phone, and insurance for my this and that, and everything's all right. No, nothing is all right. It's all artificial. You're not growing your own food. You're buying junk milk from Costco. Yeah, it's cheap, but it's also junk. So everything is junk. Instead of gold plates or silver plates, you're eating off of plastic plates. Instead of cooking food with cow dung, you're cooking food with propane gas or with natural gas or electricity, this and that, and and in your house there's so many toxic things, and hospitals are getting bigger and bigger because more and more people are getting sicker and sicker by being surrounded by inorganic chemicals and preservatives and pesticides and this and that, and breathing in air that's contaminated, and viruses and this and that. So no, it's possible to have a natural Krishna conscious life today in America. It just requires a few little adjustments, and they're little adjustments, they're not big adjustments. The big adjustment is, instead of being in anxiety and fearful and worrying, you'll be happy, peaceful, and secure, knowing that Krishna is going to protect you as long as you're chanting your rounds and following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. And believe me, that's a fact. Krishna will. He promises that he'll protect his devotee. So, Maharaj Parikshit was induced to disregard the Brahminical culture due to a slight provocation of hunger and thirst. Well, you see, we're being provoked, not slightly, but big time every day, by many different issues that are going on in the society, and many different issues in our own personal lives. And we're being disturbed by it, and it causes anxiety and fear, and therefore we are victims of pavarga. There's the chavarga, the tavarga, and the pavarga. The pavarga is papa, ba, ma. These are the consonants, and there's different rows of consonants, and one of the rows is the pavarga. So pa means working real hard. sometimes spending not 8 hours, but 10 hours, or 12 hours, or 16 hours working. Oh, I'm on call tonight. Okay, I already worked 9, 10 hours, but now I'm on call for another 4 hours, and up until 1 o'clock in the morning, because my team is in, Israel or India or Vietnam or China or somewhere else, and this is their daytime and this is my nighttime, and I got 50 people on my team, and some of them are in South America, others are in India, and so forth. So one can't even take rest properly. One can't even eat properly. They're so nervous about deliverables. So this is not a type of life. This is a type of suffering. But we're caught in that trap because we, like the donkey, you get a stick and a string and you tie the string to a carrot, and you're sitting on the donkey and you hold the stick up like this, and the carrot is dangling in front of the face of the donkey, and the donkey keeps going forward because he wants the carrot, but he can't quite reach it. So we all see the carrot. America, the United States, freedom. You can come with nothing and end up like Bezos, and this and that, and all the carrots. There's so many carrots, but they're always just a little bit farther in the future. So right now, we're in anxiety trying to get to that future. And some people make it, some people don't make it. Most people don't make it. Some people make it. So what we need is to understand what is real life. Real life is not working like a donkey and wasting all our time chasing after fallible soldiers, as it's stated in the Shastra. A fallible soldier means a soldier who's going to fail, going to die on the battlefield. Not going to see freedom, not going to see victory, going to die. So that's what's happening to most people. Like I had one uncle. He was a tailor by trade, but in order to make more money, he started a dry cleaning business. I don't know if you know what dry cleaning is, but you have to use these very powerful chemicals to dry clean, suits, because suits, they're usually thick and cloth, and they're difficult to, you just can't wash a suit in a washing machine. Any of you have suit? You have a suit? Do you wash it in a washing machine? No, you can't wash it in a washing machine. You have to take it to the dry cleaner down the street, right? They're usually Vietnamese people or Asian people nowadays. Anyway, my uncle was he was a tailor. That was his real trade, but he couldn't make enough money simply, and there was not always orders for him to make suits or shirts or any of those things, because they're making them in the factories now. Before they had to make it by hand. Now they make it in the factories. So all he could do was just do repairs. So he couldn't make a lot of money doing that. So he got into the dry cleaning business. And the dry cleaning business, because they're using dangerous chemicals, usually there's a specialist who has the dry cleaning factory or plant. And the tailors, they get all the dry cleaning clothes to be picked up once a day and then brought back in a day or two from the factory. In the factory, they have special air purifiers and this thing and that thing, because the chemicals are extremely dangerous. But my uncle, in order to make an extra 50 cents on every piece of clothing that went to the dry cleaner, he bought the chemicals himself in his tailor shop, and he lived on the floor above his tailor shop, and he used to dry clean in his shop. And he and his wife both died after a year and a half of dry cleaning in the shop because of the fumes from the chemicals. That was only so he could make an extra 50 cents on each piece of cloth, you see. So that's the carrot, the extra 50 cents, and it caused his death. And it's a terrible tragedy. At that time, they didn't know, they were not so educated, they didn't know how dangerous the chemicals were. So this is what's happening to everyone. The carrot has different shapes, different sizes, different names, but it's there. And to get the carrot, they have to work like in a donkey. And how many people actually get the carrot? Well, they get pieces of it, but most people never get the whole carrot. And usually they use all their energy and their best years trying to get the carrot, and eventually they're old and sick and they die, not having really succeeded and leaving nothing. Like I had another uncle, he had a grocery store, and he was a very frugal person, and every time we'd go and visit him, he didn't have any furniture in his house. He just had, orange crates and banana boxes and things like that, and some little cloth over it, and we would sit on those things. He was the cheapest guy in the world, and I mean, his wife was a very nice lady, and he was all right. He wasn't mean. He was just cheap. He was saving money, and he was. This is in the Depression time, and after that, in World War II, and by the time I was old enough to know things, as in the 1950s, we would visit him very seldom, but once in a while. And even at that time, I was a little surprised because he had these crates in his house. If you looked underneath the cloth, it was like an orange crate or something like that. It would be sitting on that. That was the chair. But he was wealthy. I mean, for his time and his position, he was wealthy. Well, he and his wife didn't have any kids, so they adopted a son. But the son was, when he got older, he's a complete nonsense. And eventually, the father died, and then the son pestered the mother so much, she died, and he inherited all the money that took his father 30, 40 years to save, which is at that time maybe $300,000-$400,000 cash. And the boy spent it all in about a month. And the final insult was he bought a horse. He thought it was a racehorse, but he got cheated. And he named it after his father, and the horse had an accident and died. And that was the end of his money. And it took his father 30, 40 years to make all that money by, penny pinching. And it was gone in a month or two. And the boy ended up being a drunk and a homeless guy. So this is what's happening a lot. People work so hard, and then what do they have to show for it in the end? They take birth again because they avoided being Krishna conscious. They were ignorant of Krishna consciousness. They did everything wrong. Instead of protecting the cow, they were eating the cow. Instead of believing in God, they believed in money. Instead of self-purifying, they self-contaminated. And it's all misery, and it's all for nothing. So these are lessons that we should learn, not by making the mistakes ourselves, but learning from other people's mistakes. And how do you learn something is a mistake? You read Bhagvatam, and you hear Bhagavatam spoken. Then you learn what is a mistake. Eating meat is a mistake. Not believing in God is a mistake. Not following Vedic Brahminical culture or even better, Vaishnavism, that's a mistake. So we should not make this mistake. We should become serious about life. And from the earliest age on, we should practice Krishna consciousness sincerely and seriously. We should understand by regularly hearing this Vedic knowledge that there's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. His name is Krishna, and he's most attractive, and that he's promising to protect us if we follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness and chant Hare Krishna and regularly hear and only take prasadam. And also, we should protect cows. We should protect them. They're wonderful. Krishna himself protects cows. He's a cowherd boy. So obviously protecting a cow means something very big. And that's why this man called me up. The son of the journalist, his father in India, he was interested in our cow protection program because that's written on our webpage. See, they understand that this is a rare thing in the modern world today, especially in America, where they eat so many cows. Of course, in India now, India is always competing with America. The Americans eat so many cows. Now the Indians have to eat a lot of cows. Right? So they want to follow the devil, not God. So there's competition now. Who can eat the most cows? Who can drink the most liquor? India has a big problem with liquor. Years ago, I was sitting in Connaught Place in Delhi. It was a hot day. And I was chanting some rounds, Hare Krishna. I had my eyes closed. And all of a sudden, I heard this voice. You got some change? I opened my eyes. I said, I thought I was in Pioneer Square in the United States, in Seattle. That's what they say. Hey, man, you got some change? And I looked, and it was an Indian, right? I said, who are you? He said, my name is Gopal. I said, Gopal? I said, what's wrong with your voice? Nothing. It's normal, isn't it? He spoke just like the winos or drunkards in Pioneer Square or downtown Seattle, exactly the same way. I said, where were you born, Gopal? He said, Govardhan. I said, Govardhan? You were born in Govardhan? Near Vrindavan? Yeah. I said, how did you get here? He said, I like it here. So you got some change? I said, no, I don't have any change. I'm sorry. So you don't have any rupees? I said, no, I don't have. How about some dollars? I said, I don't have any dollars. So you're American, aren't you? I said, yeah, I'm American. How come you don't have any dollars? I said, because I forgot them at home, that's why. And he said, well, why don't you give me something? I said, yeah, I'll give you something. Repeat after me. Hare Krishna. I said, I don't want that. This is India. This is Connaught Place. This is what's going on there. People are going nuts. So we got to do something about this. This can't go on like this. It's untenable. It's going to just be a disaster. It's already a disaster. It's just going to get worse. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya's solution to the problem, to get rid of the pavarga. So there's apavarga and there's pavarga. So pavarga means you work real hard. You work so hard you start foaming at the mouth. Just like when horses are worked really hard, they foam at the mouth. Even people like that. When they work really hard, they don't sleep that much and they're in anxiety. They start, a little foam comes out from the side of their lips. And then you become frustrated because you're trying to reach some goal and it's not happening. So pa means working hard, like a donkey. And pa means foaming at the mouth because you're working so hard. And ba means frustration. And baha means baya, fear. And ma means death. So that's called pavarga. That's a summary of the life where people don't practice Vaishnavism or Brahminical culture. They don't believe in God, and they don't protect cows. They get stuck in the pavarga. But devotees are not stuck in pavarga. They're on the path of apavarga. They don't have to work real hard. Of course, they'll do whatever is necessary to please Radha and Krishna and Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. But they're not working like a donkey. See, there's two types of people. There's the lazy intelligence and active intelligence. And there's the lazy fool and the active fool. So, who's the most dangerous of the four? What do you think? There's the lazy fool, the active fool, the intelligent person, and the lazy intelligent person. So which is the best and which is the worst? What do you think?
Yeah, who worse?
Huh?
Yeah, who worse? Bad.
No. No, something is better than the other. You never heard this before?
Can't remember that.
Okay. Well, the active fool is the most dangerous. Right? If a lazy fool is not as dangerous as the active fool. And the best of all is the lazy intelligent guy. Because he'll think up ways that he doesn't have to work like a donkey to have, his needs in life. So the active intelligent guy, yeah, he's active, but if it's intelligence or tamasa buddhi, intelligence and ignorance, he'll be building big buildings, big cars, big ego, and so forth. But the lazy intelligent guy, he thinks, oh, what's the easiest way to get this done? The easiest way, chant Hare Krishna, be satisfied with what comes naturally by Krishna's mercy, and always keep your mind focused on pleasing the Lord. And the active fool, all he does is make a mess of everything he does and creates misery all over the place. And the lazy fool, at least, doesn't make as much of a mess, let's put it like that. Okay, so Lord Chaitanya has taught us how to pray. He says, Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadishikamai mama janmani janmaniswari bhavatad bhakti rahaitu tvai. He says, oh my Lord, I don't want any amount of wealth. I don't want any victims for my sense gratification. All I want is your mercy and your protection so that I can continue in devotional service. So Prabhupada says, everyone is praying to God with some interest. That is also good. If you go and pray to God, give me some money, or give me some relief, give me a nice house, or a nice wife, or nice food stuff. That's also good. But not so good as one is praying to God that I don't want any money. I don't want any number of followers. I don't want any good wife or husband or nice, beautiful this or that. Then what do you want? I want to serve you, that's all. Finish your prayer. That is the best prayer. You are so good. You are so nice. You are so great that I want to be engaged in your service, oh my dear Krishna. I am serving these rascals, and they're never satisfied. And I'm not satisfied. Now I have come to you. Please engage me in your service. That is the last word of prayer. So this is interesting. Say, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam Va, Jagadishikamaya, Mama Janmani Janmani Swari, Bhavatad Bhakti Rahaitu Tvai. Yeah, I don't want wealth. I don't want sense gratification. All I want is to be your servant, birth after birth, meaning I don't even want liberation. I'm just satisfied by your service. So Prabhupada says, this is the last word of prayer. In other words, this is the best prayer. So that's what we're doing every day. We're reciting the Danam, the Janam, the Sundaram every day. And we're praying to Krishna, please let me be your servant. That's the meaning of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Please Radharani, please Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, engage me always in your service. That is the prayer of the devotee. It's called the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Are there any questions, comments?
Yeah, just a comment about the last thing you mentioned about na dhanam na janam na sundarim. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is really explained the meaning of this verse of Sikshastakam beautifully in the, not in Sharanagati, but in Gita Valley, whereby he says, a devotee, vipadi, sampadi. There are two nice verses there. That I mean, the whole bhajan is incredible. Where it says that a devotee should always pray that whatever attachment I have developed in the material world, he prays to the Lord to reach, rechannelize or to transfer that into attachment to Him.
Hmm?
So we're to pray in this way. We cannot be without attachment, but we should be attached to the Supreme Lord instead of being attached to the materialism. And then the second one he said, which is very important actually, that whatever difficulties, vipadi sampadi, I may go through, because we shouldn't think
I'm able
that,
to get through them.
Yeah, we shouldn't think that we'll be always, everything will be fine, I'll be okay, I'll have good health, good money, good situation. No, everybody has to go through, hell sometimes, hardships. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, but my Lord, I pray that, through this happiness, distress, vipadi sampadi, I want just to increase my attachment to you by only chanting the holy name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the last verse he said is like, no, that's a different one. Yeah. He said, Vipadi Sampadita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that, I want my attachment to you to increase through all these hardships. And the last one he said, let me go to hell. Let me take birth as a worm, stool, but I want just to be your devotee.
Yes. Very nice. You want to say something?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked about lazy, intelligent is the best of all, right? But if they become lazy and they're finding shortcuts to earn money, or they're cheating through that?
No, that's not the point. When it says lazy, it means someone, he's an intelligent guy, but he's thinking, what is the best path for me and for everyone? So, from the point of view of the karmis, someone who's chanting Hare Krishna is a lazy bum.
Mm.
They're not advancing materially. They're not engaging in sense grad. They don't drink nice wine. They don't eat the best meat. They don't eat eggs. They're not enjoying life. They don't take vacations. They're living a boring life. Whereas the guy that's not a lazy, intelligent guy, is active, intelligent guy. He's making money. He's an investor, and he's making his money make more money by investing it, and always looking for the next Amazon, right? You see. So and what's happening in the meantime? He's getting older and older, and eventually he's going to die, and the person will be forgotten completely. Because all he did was make money and have a big house and spend the money and have sense gratification, but wasn't interested in self-realization. Of course, there's plenty of opportunity for a person like that. By the way, how much money do you need to live? Let's say you die, you have $4 billion in the bank. Is that smart or is that dumb? That's dumb. You could have done so much good with that $4 billion. What's the use of dying and leaving it in the bank for someone else to spend it, right? But no, they think that the more money they have, that means they're really successful. But if you don't use the money for doing good to others, But, the best good is helping others to become Krishna conscious. Then what use is it? And why did you work so hard if you die and you just leave it in the bank? Just like this one lady died, and she left $4 billion to her dog. So then there's a lawyer, he's the one who, so when the dog died, he spent, a couple $100,000 to put it in the dog's cemetery. Because the dog has $4 billion, right? Well, basically the money got ripped off by the lawyer. But that's how foolish people are. Right? They don't trust anybody else except their dog. So when they die, they leave all the money to the dog, not to their grandchildren, not to this. They leave it to the dog. So this type of life is crazy, and people are wasting their lives, overworking and over-fearing and over-anxiety just to accumulate a gigantic bank account. And what are they going to do with the money? They just spend it. Just like, how many houses does Jeff Bezos have? How many houses do you think he has? He's got at least 10 houses. Not in the same place. He's got an apartment in Paris, France. He's got an apartment in, and those apartments are very expensive, in New York. And he's got something on the Riviera, and he's got something in California, and he's got something in Seattle, and he's got something here in Hawaii. So how many houses you have? One, right? So how would you feel if you had 10 houses, and some of them are in Europe, some of them are here and there? I mean, are you going to go there?
I feel anxious.
Yeah, you have to. Just like this one family is here from Andhra, and they have a house in one in a bigger town in Andhra, and then they have another house in a small village in Andhra. So their house in the big town was robbed, and they had left gold, a lot of gold in it. The whole thing was robbed, right? So they're here, and they have this house and that house, and it gets robbed. What are they going to do, right? And they can't even go back because of COVID. So, yeah, you see, the less you have, the less worries you have, right? You need a certain minimum. You can't be living in a box, a cardboard box. But we should learn to live very simply and gain time for Krishna consciousness, not gain wealth for more anxiety, right? Gain enough wealth to maintain yourself and have a, let's say, comfortable life, but not lavish, and eat simple food, not opulent food all the time, and dress simply, not over opulently, but have time to cultivate Krishna consciousness, right? The less you eat, the more energy you have, right? You have to eat a certain amount of food, but not too much. And more people have died by overeating than from not eating in this world. So, what's the word in Hindi? Moti, right? Is that the word for fat?
Fat?
Yeah.
Mota.
Mota, yeah, mota. Well, before there were no real fat people in India. Now there's a lot of fat people in India because they are working hard on the farm, so they were not so fat. Now, my God, there's a lot. It's like Walmart in America. Like this, walking down the aisle, and the cart is full of meat and wine and all these things. The Indians are doing that too. You see, so no, we have to learn to live a simple life, simple food, simple clothing. And, what was the clothing in India? It was sari and a dhoti, right? Maybe a little chadar, that was it. And you can wash it, and you put it out in the sun, it dries in about half an hour. You don't need the washing machine. So it's a very simple life. And with that simple life, they built these gigantic temples, Srirangam and Madurai and Tirupati and Kanchipuram and all these places. They built these gigantic, beautiful temples. But all the people were living very simply. and they were healthy, and they were raising their families, and their kids were good, and life was good. India was an opulent place, and there were big festivals like Kumbh Mela and other big, gigantic festivals. Everybody's getting prasadam. There's a good life, a very good life. So we want to go back to that life. Haribol. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. He's always clapping when the class is over.